Hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Camden.
What's up? My name is Marcus. Camera right here.
Okay, so right now, this is something I've been waiting to do for a long time, is a video chat interview. Yeah, let's keep it walking.
No, out the sun, out the sun.
Oh, out the sun, yeah. Thanks, man. So anyway, we're gonna go over here, sit down at the table, have a nice conversation, talk about living abroad, teaching abroad, and we're gonna have Mr. Marcus explain about his story. He was a teacher in Saudi Arabia. He was a teacher on VIP Kids, and he's been traveling and living abroad, and we're gonna learn about his story. Boom. Sound good, man?
It sounds great.
All right, let's go check it out.
Walk and talk, no?
Okay.
I mean, and to that, Camden, I also taught in South Korea. I can't start without saying that because I did 5.5 years there.
Okay.
Korea is where I started off, and I taught in Spain, and I taught in Thailand. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Okay, so why don't you tell me, why don't we start with your story, man? Where are you from and everything?
I was actually born in California.
Go for it, man.
I was born in California, and I grew up in the Bahamas. My mother's Filipina, and my dad's Bahamian. And that's where I was born and all that background. But then I started teaching in South Korea.
Okay, so how did you get involved with teaching English in South Korea?
Check this out. I actually started off as a missionary teacher.
Stand, dude. Why not?
Huh?
You just want to stand up?
That's cool. We can stand. We can stand.
It's more chill. I like it.
I started off as a missionary teacher, teaching with an institution called SDA in South Korea. After doing that for 2 years, my worldviews changed. Enjoyed and loved teaching so much, and I knew the world was much bigger than Korea. So that's when I went and got my CELTA, and then I went off to Saudi Arabia.
Were you in Seoul when you started out?
I was in Seoul. I taught in Bucheon. I taught in Jeju-do, which is the island down in the south. Taught in Wonju, and I worked at Bonwon, the main campus. It was in Cheongnaeng-ni, Seoul, and yeah, that's where I started.
Wow, man. So, what did you think about teaching English in Korea? Like, did you have a good experience? Has a lot changed since you've been? Do you think? Just tell me like your overall vibe. Like, how was the salary? Were the benefits okay? Did you feel safe? You know, tell us a little bit about just, a couple of seconds.
That's a lot. But
yeah.
Yes.
Well, I just say that because, a lot of people out there, they do know Korea is like a powerhouse for English teachers, and people say the salary is very good. So I'd rather just hear it from somebody firsthand.
Yeah. I would say Korea is very convenient. And if I had to start over, I would do that, or Taiwan, because Koreans are very loving and welcoming people once you get to know them, once you make that effort to. And the only reason I say once you make that effort to is because, I mean, when you think about it, it's a peninsula, but they've been attacked on the east with Japan for a long time, barred off from China on the west, and then their brothers to the north. So they're sort of like an island, and they love to stick to themselves in a sense. But once you start to get to know them and start opening up to them, and they see that and make that effort, they're very hospitable, very loving people.
I never heard anybody kind of say that. Now I kind of get a different perspective. As you said, the east, the west, the north. So yeah, they've had to kind of
be insular, if you will.
Yeah. And
sorry,
no. Yeah. Stick to themselves more. Yeah.
That's why they're sort of weary of foreigners, because they're really like, what are you bringing? What are you trying to? And the thing about Koreans is that.
And of course, military presence there too, of the U.S. So
of the U.S., yeah.
Yeah.
They like to stick to a script, and once you deviate from that script, there's a hive mind there, and that's a positive thing and a bad thing.
A hive mind.
Hive mind in that in Korea there's a certain way you do something, and if you stick to the script and do it that way, there won't be any problems. However, that in itself can be a problem. Anyhow.
Did you think? Of course, that's something like very similar along a lot of Asian cultures, but. Do you think it's really strong with Korea? Like the normal procedure? I
would say it's what makes them a great powerhouse in everything. Because when you think about it, the Korean War ended in 1950 about. They were the fastest growing GDP developing country for that time because there was nothing there. It was desolate. But now they're #1 in steel. They're #1 in electronics. And not #1, but they're a powerhouse in electronics. With everything else, because Koreans are very hardworking. Again, not a good thing or a bad thing, but it is to what has brought them to where they are. Now, in regards to, what were you asking about? The salary was good. Oh, there was something else that you mentioned that
Were
I
you
forgot,
able to
but-
save money every month?
Yeah.
Okay, was it enough to save money and pay off things back home?
Hell yeah.
or-
I paid off
okay.
my debt there.
Wow.
When I say my debt, my college debt and
So
so
in
on.
Korea, you were able to save enough money and then pay off some of that college debt.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, you were asking, did I have a good
How
experience?
old were
there?
you when you started out there?
I went there straight after university. So I'd be about, what was that, 23?
Was it
23 or so?
easy application process? Did you find a job online? Oh, you already
Go on.
mentioned.
Yeah. I went out there with my church,
Right.
religious institute. It was easy enough. I mean, I know people who were out there doing that. Yeah. I mean, ain't nothing to it, but I remember coming back home. Ain't nothing to it, but just to do it. I remember coming back home and people were asking, like, friends and family are like, how could you just go out there? And I was just like, how could you not? I have a passport. The world's welcoming and inviting you. Just go for it.
Okay.
Really, just go for it.
So I didn't even know he went to Korea, so that was a whole new story. I'm glad he shared that. So from Korea, and then where did you go next?
I wanted to continue teaching. I felt there was a calling for it.
From your experience in Korea,
From my
you
Korea,
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Of course.
And actually, the reason I left Korea was because it's sort of Shangri-La. That's what I always say. It gets very convenient. You're making disposable income, and there wasn't much expected of you in regards to, again, like I learned the script. I learned how to do what I needed to do to get ahead and what I needed to get ahead in, but I knew the world was bigger.
Were you there for 1 year or 2 years?
5.5.
Oh,
Five and a
wow,
half.
man. I
After-
had no idea.
Yeah. After 2.5 years,
Dang.
then I stopped teaching with the institute that I was at, but I continued teaching, and I was just like, you know what?
Wow,
I
man.
need
So
that
you're
kid.
really enmeshed with the Korean culture.
And that's why when I speak of my teaching experience, like Korea, I identify most greatly with Korea. That is, yeah, that'll always be in my heart.
That's really cool,
Yeah.
man. That's a surprise to me because the questions that I had asked Marcus was about Saudi Arabia,
Yeah.
and then teaching a VIP kid. Then that was a great spiel on that. So
There-
okay, 5 years in Korea, and what prompted you? What
Sure.
got you to start thinking, like you said, there's more places to see in the world. Like, what did you get interested in, and how?
Well, in short, I would say it's like this. I knew the highest paying place was inside the Middle East, so I wanted to get there as quickly as possible. But in getting to the Middle East, I needed certification, or so I thought. That's a whole nother story for another time.
Yeah.
But I also, again, I love my craft, and I wanted to get better in teaching. So I then came to Bangkok with International House, IH in Bangkok, to get my CELTA.
Okay.
And with that, then I came up to Chiang Mai. I was here for a month or two. I was planning to get my MA at PIAP.
So the CELTA, before when you were teaching in Korea, did you have the TEFL certificate?
No.
Just their 4-year degree.
A 4-year degree.
And that's it. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
4-year degree. So you came to Bangkok and you took the in-person CELTA.
Yeah.
Is that 1 month?
It's 1 month. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, intensive. I would say this. I got an online with, I don't know if you mentioned other people, but it's Bridge TEFL while I was in Korea because I felt it'd make me more marketable. Some schools, they're like, unless it's in person, yeah, unless it's in person, yeah. I would say I didn't need that to be marketable, not to knock it, but
Yeah.
but it did teach me a lot in the sense of teaching because I mean a TEFL course is a teaching course. It teaches you how
Right.
to teach. After getting that, I was in Chiang Mai and I would say I was looking around, but then I then applied to places inside Saudi Arabia, and they picked me up. The university there, is it King Khalid? No. I can't remember. It's the university there in Riyadh.
Okay.
I was working there for about a year, and then I got picked up by Aramco.
Now, is Riyadh the capital in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Riyadh. Now there's a whole long backstory to this, but I shifted from where I was at the university to Aramco. In there
And
was
the application process.
For
Did you
what?
do it online when you were in Thailand? Did you do the interview process in Thailand to go to Saudi Arabia?
for the first one, yes.
Okay.
Because I found a recruiter through some job boards online, and then we talked, had a conversation. I had my papers and everything because you have to move with your papers.
And would you say Saudi Arabia's, or the Middle East for teaching English, is you got to have the highest credentials and qualifications?
Yeah, and I was going to touch on that when I said qualifications and credentials, because, I mean, let's be real, right? I'm a guy with a darker hue of skin. and I will, honestly, I'm not bitter about any of this inside this experience, because I've had a wonderful teaching and traveling experience, because your experience is your experience, and then you bring what you can to it. That said, I've been denied in no uncertain terms, people telling me it is because of your skin. Right? And that's just the truth of it. There's a sense of ignorance around the world, or anywhere. We go back home and we'll find ignorance.
Oh, yes.
And there are different types of ignorance, of not knowing, or willfully not knowing, or knowing and then just disregarding. But and I say that to say I met people in Saudi Arabia who were just like, no, I don't have this teaching degree, or not even teaching degrees. I don't even have my 4-year degree, but I was hired. And interestingly, his name was John, and he did have blue eyes.
Oh gosh!
And I'm just saying that's what it was. And
super stereotypical.
Yeah,
like
him and I would joke about that, but I mean, they're just certain things that you would see.
Yes. So give or take.
Well, not even give or take. I mean,
because every time I would look up, jobs in Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or Qatar, it was always like,
you need this, you need that.
Usually like master's degree, and even like sometimes 3 or 5 years teaching experience back in your home country. So it was like, that's like a dream shot for so many people, And I see that, and yeah, it is true, and they do want to hire that. And in the university, there were a lot of older heads, respect to the people who've been inside the TEFL game for so long. But then I would also meet people. I mean, I didn't have my MA then. I met people who don't meet these certain criterias. So if you don't meet that, still apply. I mean, the worst answer they could tell you is no, but you'd never know that until you ask. So yeah, they do ask for a lot. And I mean, once you're in the TEFL game, once you're in the classroom and you can prove that you actually have the skills to do what you got to do, they didn't want me to go. Right.
They wanted to hold on to it. And actually, that's been my whole thing inside this. You have to lead with... People can deny you at the door, but once you're in and you prove to them that you have the skills to do what you can do, my reputation precedes me.
Of course.
And that's...
Yeah, I really hope that everyone really listens to that last part that Marcus says. It's so important. It's just, you just got to go for it. The worst thing is someone can tell you no.
But you wouldn't know that until you asked.
Exactly. And the one thing that I'm really wondering is, going from, then a lot of people wanting to teach English in places like Thailand or places like China, places that have warm climate, and of course Korea. But when it comes to Saudi Arabia, a lot of people are hesitant. A lot of people are like, you compare teach English in Thailand or teach English in Saudi Arabia, it's like probably most people would pick Thailand because they don't know a lot about the culture. So
sure,
you've been in Korea for 5 years, and now you move into a completely different culture, language, different types of food, everything. So if you could just kind of like speed us up on how was the transition in Saudi Arabia? Tell us maybe about the lifestyle there, and how long were you there for? Just
I was there for
just a brief summary.
2.5 years.
He's got a 24-hour office. And he's taking the time.
No, not even about that, man.
He's taking the time out of his day right now to make this, record this video.
It's not even about the office, but when you say, tell me about Saudi Arabia, there's so many layers to that, and there's only my one perspective.
Right.
Two things: you can't get into Saudi Arabia. Well, the one thing is that you can't get into Saudi Arabia unless either, as a foreigner, unless one, you're doing Hajj there as a Muslim, and you're going there for your religious rituals, or 2, you're coming in as a foreign worker, because there's no tourism there. Of course, the one thing they teach you about Saudi Arabia is if the money ain't funny, you could always get what you...
I remember he told me this last year too. I think it was the same month we met.
It's the truth. It's the truth. Look.
How was the salary though? Because that's like the biggest question that people like to know is, teaching English abroad is...
How's the money?
Yeah, how was the salary and the hours?
Man, we could do a whole video on this, in that I'll tell you the story that everybody in Saudi Arabia or the Middle East knows. Once you come to the airport, they give you 2 buckets. I told you this?
No, you didn't tell me this one.
They give you 2 buckets. One bucket is constantly filling up with mierda. That's crap.
Yes.
All right? Shit.
Yeah, mierda.
Yeah. All right? The second bucket is constantly filling up with money. As long as a money bucket is heavier, people stay. But when the second crap bucket gets heavier, that's when people leave. And you never know when another person's crap bucket is going to get heavier. So that is to say, they do pay you more, but it's with the understanding how long can you deal with this hardship.
Okay.
And I say hardship because, look, I went to Saudi Arabia and I led with curiosity for 3 reasons. One, because I wanted to learn about Islam as a world religion.
Yes.
1 billion people, I mean, just what is up with this place? What is, not this place, but these people, just to understand them more. 2, I wanted to get to know the region more, North Africa and the Middle East, and travel around there. And 3, for the money, to get paid.
Yeah.
And I did all 3 of those things. Personally, I had a wonderful time. I had an experience. I led with an experience. Lead with curiosity. If you're getting into this TEFL game, the beautiful thing is that you're going to see different perspectives in different parts of the world. There are going to be hardships, but I mean, you can either look at it as a threat or you can look at it as a challenge. Constantly as the difference being a challenge you know you can overcome. A threat you feel as though you can't meet. And I've met everything along the way, and I've had a great experience. So
yeah, and if anybody has any specific questions about Marcus and his teaching abroad in Saudi Arabia or in Korea, you can just ask below, and then I'll send that over to him. Cool. Yeah. And we might even be doing a podcast together. There's just a lot of TEFL stories. There's so many teachers out there who are doing similar things, and I'm not going to go into super in depth about that. Bring it back to Marcus right now. So you're in Saudi Arabia. You went Korea, Saudi Arabia, and then what made you start to think about the next step? Okay. And what was the next step for you?
The next step, I then got my
Well, how long? You were in Korea 5 years. How long in Saudi? 2?
2.5 in total.
Okay.
In classroom on the ground, about 2 years. There was about 6 months in there. I had to process a visa back home in the States. In changing companies.
Yeah.
And then I went to Spain. The whole idea was I had my fill of Saudi Arabia. Yeah, my mierda bucket just filled up.
Wow.
and left with no animosity, but I understood that
I really like he said he led with curiosity. That's the most important.
Heck yeah.
He went there because he wanted to learn.
Yeah, yeah. The pool's real bright behind you. The pool looks beautiful. It's better lighting.
Oh wow, yeah, it's over here. It's a little bit better. Cool, man.
All right. So
if
then
your arm's getting tired, let me know.
That's all good. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I went to Spain, and I taught with the program CIEE, which was teaching with schools. I just wanted to get into Spain, have a proper visa, while doing something that I enjoyed. I was only doing 16 hours a week, so that's, I don't know, was it even that? 4 hours a day. And most of that wasn't contact time. It really wasn't, quote unquote, easy job. I was overqualified, and I went into that knowing that because I just wanted the visa. Let me not say I just wanted the visa, but that was a big deciding point.
Well, if you're going to go there and you're going to be there for some time, you want to have everything set up the right way.
Yeah.
You don't want to have anything looming over your head.
Yeah. And that was my whole intention. I always loved Spain. I love Spanish people. Have been there numerous of times, traveled around the country. But while being there personally, I knew this lifestyle wasn't sustainable. Euro bottles of wine, it just got caught up to me. And actually, that's one thing in my personal life. Wherever you go, that's where you are. And I needed to do some personal development of not being caught up in that. And the place that I always knew, after Saudi Arabia, I came to Thailand. I got my Delta, which is a diploma of English language teaching for adults. So you could be a teacher, trainer, or a manager of a language school or so on.
Is that 1 month course also?
That's 2 month course.
Wow.
And it's much more intensive. Like it's very intensive. For where I am now, I'm not using it. However, it taught me a lot about English language learning. You break down the language more. And in regards to actually teaching in class, teaching teachers how to teach.
But also just having that on your belt, if you ever want to train.
Yeah.
Any company, any school could just pick up Marcus and
Really, I would love to do that, but my heart has always been with the learners.
You have a lot of things to fall back on, though. You have a lot of options. It gives you options.
Options,
right?
I like that. Yeah, options. And then that said, the one place I've always felt like just holistically, this is the right feeling is Chiang Mai, and that's when I decided, because in all my travels, North, South America, whatnot, it's always been, what is the one place you would always want to return to, and it was Chiang Mai. And for those who've never been here, I mean, the local people, the foreigners, I think good energy attracts good energy, and Chiang Mai is a wonderful place. Medellin is another place I've heard is like this. I've yet to be.
Yeah, I got a friend out there playing online poker.
Yeah.
A lot of online poker guys out there, and he said he loves it out there. You know,
it's that or crypto people are getting it. I mean, if you could be locationally independent, these are some hot spots and nice places to look at.
The thing that gets me for Chiang Mai so much is the food.
Yep.
If you are a vegetarian or vegan, yeah, it's so accessible, and just the flavors here. You got to remember, Thailand is a country situated where 12 months of the year you're getting fresh food.
Man,
you know,
awesome.
It's like, I see people, I've said this in a video, I see the organic farmers coming to the market, in the supermarket, in the shopping mall, and stocking their own shelves because they pick that food, that produce the same morning. Like, all these restaurants over here, regardless if it's organic or sprayed or not, they're getting fresh food to that restaurant every single day. Thai people do not save food.
Yeah.
They give it to the dog at the end of the day if it's not eaten. And I don't know, just it's the fresh food and the vibes and the peacefulness here.
Another point to that, just to add on to that, I was reading this article, some paper in New York or something, looking at the best place to be vegetarian, vegan, whatnot. And the top three, the first one was New York, second one was Portland, and the third one was Chiang Mai, specifically the city Chiang Mai. And I thought about it, I said, one dish that you pay in New York would provide you for a week or a week and a half, or a half a week in Chiang Mai.
Yes.
Right? It's good quality food, but the cost of living also is uncomparable to a lot of places. So the quality of life for what you're paying, it's a no-brainer for me, personally.
Yeah, Chiang Mai is a great spot. And so, with that being said,
Well,
the next thing is, so you're in Spain, you're starting to realize that, you know, you can't sustain yourself doing this. You do have some money saved up, of course. You don't have to think about debt, which is great. You set yourself up with Celta, Delta. You got a lot of things going for you. And then I'm going to get into the teaching online. How did you find it? And how long were you doing it? Truth
be told, since I was in Saudi Arabia, I've been teaching online.
Okay.
I started off with Verbling when they just started out. When it was, they were with Y Combinator, but Verbling, which is actually, it was a good platform. It was, and I feel it still is. However, it has just become another tutor one-to-one thing.
Okay.
It used to be one person speaking to a teacher teaching a class of 9 via Google Hangouts. They got the proof of concept. Then they started making their own software. And now it's just a tutoring service for one-to-one. Verbling, look it up, if you will. But then I was teaching from then. I've always had a knack for technology. Came out to Thailand, and I did some volunteer work at a French with his workers and so on, because I wanted to teach. I wanted to be in the classroom. Yeah. But
Marcus is a real teacher. He's a real teacher. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what it is about teaching. For me, it's interacting and engaging to find perspectives of the world, and I just give them the tools to express that. Life is about experiencing and expressing. I want to hear about the experiences of other people. They just don't have the tools to tell me.
Right.
So I give them those tools. That said, I started looking at schools around here, and they could find the backpack teachers. Nothing wrong with that. Do you, boo-boo? Like, everybody has their own hustle. Went to more of the reputable names, Wall Street, IH, and they were hiring, but then I was looking at the compensation for it. I remember one day, I actually taught some mock classes at one of the institutes, and I remember ironing my shirt, having to get dressed, put on my tie, drove out there on my bike, And then the director was just like, hey, I'm not asking you to, but we want you to engage with the students a little bit after or before if you could. And I totally get that. Understand, build rapport with them. And then they were starting me off at a salary that I looked at it and I was just like, I could teach online, make twice this in half the time, waking up in my underwear. And teaching the class with a shirt on, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing I really want to say real quick.
Get on it. Do you? Yeah.
That's all good. Just like really quickly, when you come out of Thailand, some places do have air conditioning, and you guys may not think this is not something to think about, but it really is. If you're in a school for 6 to 8 hours a day, even with air conditioning, it's not so easy. You got to be a really specific teacher. That's why I'm putting out a lot of information about online English teaching. And I'm not trying to deter people away from teaching at schools. It's a great place to start. And I would never say to anyone who's 22 or just in college or out of college to not teach at a school. Go and teach at a school because you're going to get an experience that you're never going to get online. And it is a great because you get to see them face to face. You learn the culture, the language more. Yeah. You absorb more. But at the same time, just be prepared. Because there's a lot of people, like I've said, who make this English teaching thing look cool, and it is cool. And I try to show transparency, but it's rough.
Yeah.
It's not easy, and especially with the salary, like Marcus is saying, when you can teach online and make double, and you don't have to be in the Thai, you can take shoes off in Thai schools, but belts, all that accumulates. It wears you out every day.
Well, yeah, you see the effort for what you're putting in, and
I say this just because I was a teacher for 8 years in schools. Like I put in the groundwork.
Everybody has to pay their dues.
Yeah,
get their stripes.
I was gonna say I've earned my stripes. I hope so, to be online English teaching and to have that opportunity. But you get on the VIP kids. And how many hours do you usually teach on average when you were there? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Because I've yet stopped working with VIP, but I still teach online. More to that later. But for a long time, I was resisting the VIP kid thing, and then I just tried it out. And just to be honest with you, as with all life and all teaching, I mean, there was some stuff it felt drudgery, like a drudge. It was just like But then other times it was just like, look, you take what is hard. You expect challenges, yes, but then you take what is a challenge and find out how you might enjoy it. And there were some kids that I really did connect with. I feel I'll be friends with for a significant part going forward with their parents because we connected on WeChat. Mm-hmm. You build relations, and this is in all interactions. Like I just met randomly inside our apartment building a year ago. And it's just, if you lead with the right intention, it will lead you to places you need to be, if you will. That said, I was resisting VIP for a little while. Did it because I was in a situation I was just like, look, I can't just be lollygagging and sitting around. Enjoyed it. Did it for a solid year. And you're asking the salary or how many hours it takes?
Yeah. Just curious.
Yeah. I would say my schedule, my block that I'd always open up was from 2 o'clock in the afternoon here to 7 o'clock, right? 6 or 7. It's if I plan anything for that evening. During Christmas, New Year's, and during Christmas, New Year's, Chinese New Year's, and summer break, I would open up from 11 o'clock to 6 also. Taking about maybe an hour and a half spread out. Those are just for breaks to write feedback and to catch a breather, catch a nap, or catch something to eat. I was consistently getting filled because my profile, how I wrote it. This is one thing I always notice with profiles.
You're teaching on laptop, right?
Yeah, teaching on a laptop. I can show you my setup. It's a stand-up desk. I have lights coming over.
Yes.
About that, in regards to writing profiles, understand you want to write it from the idea of what you can provide the parent for their students. I see a lot of people, they write about, I'm this and this is my family. Yeah, people do want to get to know about you, but
I like riding horses.
I like
that too, and I'm not trying to judge anybody, but I just want to help people avoid these things so they can save time.
Well, it's if you're a parent looking for a teacher, it's what can you provide my child.
Right, and I'll just say this real quick. This is a quick side note. I remember someone messaged me watching my YouTube videos, native English speaker, male, graduated from college and didn't get passed on Palfish. Maybe he didn't enter something right, but he did not pass verification. And I looked at his profile and it said something like Sun Snack was his name.
Okay.
And I just said, dude, why did you put Sun Snack as your name? And he said, oh, I thought it was kind of cool and catchy. And I'm like, dude, like, you just blew. And I have empathy. I do. And I'm being kind about this, but like he's Marcus saying, come from a traditional, conservative Chinese parent perspective.
Even just to rewind that, if you want a broader sense,
go for it.
Know your audience in any communication. It's a parent looking for someone to connect with their child. So what I want to know right off the bat is, what can you do for my child? Sun Snack might be cool, but a parent might be thinking, what is that? You might like horses, yeah, cool, but what does that have to do with my child? So don't necessarily talk about yourself, but we'll talk about what you can do for them. And because a lot of profiles
the horses come once you've got the relationship.
Yeah, they'll come
out.
They'll
now
come
I
out.
can talk about, and most Chinese people are not vegan, but I'll make something about a vegan food or talk about it, and a lot of people will come just because I've already I've gathered enough value with and trust with and relationships with people where I can talk about swimming in the pool. I can talk about traveling, even though it's off topic from improving English. But you know,
well, if you say off topic from improving English, the whole thing is it's interaction, engagement. So if they're having conversation that is interesting, that is contributing to their English, you could be learning the skills, but then also you need to implement them and put them into practice. So as long as you're finding that balance, you're doing them a service. That's one way to approach it.
Yes. And so I wasn't even aware Marcus said that he has said goodbye to VIP kids, not on a bad term or anything, but on a good term. He can even go back if he wants to. But, you know, I've decided to share this story with of Marcus. And
well, it's not over even before you get to there. The reason I did leave VIP Kids is because I wanted to focus on the community that I'm building.
Yes.
It's called English Altogether, with the understanding that it's for advanced English language speakers who love to have meaningful conversation. I self-identify as a philosopher being a person who loves wisdom being practical application for life and how to live life and enjoy it. If you ask me what do I want to do, what would I love to do? I'd love to have these conversations all day with people just wanting to live a good life. That's the honest to goodness thing. And then actually practically applying them. So I'm setting up conversation groups around that for language learners. And I wanted to focus on that. And that's why I, if you will, stopped teaching with VIP Kids. I still want to teach, and I still am doing that. I'm just doing it on my terms, that knowing of what I wanted to speak about.
Yeah, that's so true, because like, for example, no matter where you are, and if you're in college, if you're in high school, if you graduate from college, or if you're a teacher right now, it doesn't matter. Just know that there are options out there. That you don't have to stay bunkered down in the USA because you think there's no options for you. Yes, get a 4-year degree. Yes, get your TEFL certification. If you have those 2 credentials, you can come out and get a great English teaching job just about anywhere in the world. And what Marcus has done, went to Korea 5 years, went to Saudi Arabia 2.5 years. Now he's been in Thailand. He's been, you know, has experience teaching English online. So he has all these experiences. Now it's time for him to say, okay, I've gotten all these things, but now it's time for me to jumpstart and take my life, my career to a whole new level. And that's what you guys have the option to do as well. And you guys have to also remember, do you want to be teaching paycheck to paycheck? Do you want to be teaching classes even though you don't want to maybe be teaching those classes? So what I'm basically trying to say is that be smart, be wise. And this is why I'm going to be coming out with more of these video chat interviews, because I don't want you guys just to hear it from me. And you guys are probably tired of me yapping my mouth all the time. But I want to get as many people that are English teachers, have experience, have their story. And there's so many people that have already lined up who are ready to do these video chat interviews with me. And this is the first one. We're making history right now. Look, we just got a phone. We started the video, the shade and the sun's in our face.
The sun wasn't even up so much.
But these are the videos that make everything so much more enjoyable and gratifying.
What I appreciate is what Camden's doing is, like we said, you can't be what you can't see. And a lot of times you be back home, I know a lot of friends back home, meaning America, who are just like, how do you do that? Why do you do that? And you have an audience, as you were mentioning before, Serbia, Kenya, and so on, around the world, literally. And the opportunity of people who've learned English as an additional language. I'm not even talking about native speakers. He's saying be smart, but the world, it's a wide world out there. And it's not that we don't have resources. If you're watching this right now, that means you're watching it on a computer or a phone. It's that we're not resourceful. All we have is a phone, and we're recording this now to inspire hope, to let other people know it is possible. He's saying be smart. I'm gonna ask you, be resourceful for what you have to take that next action, that next step, moving towards what you want. Be smart about it.
Resourcefulness, yeah. Like last summer, I thought like, I need to have this perfect camera. I need to have someone taking my pictures. I need to have this. You don't.
Yeah.
The people who are doing it have the least amount of equipment because you got to be hungry for it. You got to do something that you love every day.
Take the action towards it.
There's so many things that we could keep talking about, literally. Yeah. But the whole purpose of this and the future video chats are just trying to get people's stories out so everyone who's watching these videos, you can relate to it. You can learn from it, and also be able to take something and apply it into your life every day, today, tomorrow, long term, as well as the short term, giving you guys tools and tips as much as we can as possible, because we live a really good life. Where it's crazy. Like I almost want to slap myself in the face, and I feel like an asshole sometimes. I'm not thankful for the food. Or I get an attitude, I get impatient with my students online. Because we all get impatient. You guys know that. It's not easy sitting there listening, but keep that perspective and just realize that if you are online English teaching or if you're teaching abroad, you got such an amazing gig going on. Don't take it for granted. It could be taken away tomorrow. And if you're trying to get started, and if you're interested and you have curiosity and it's coming from the right place, you're on the right path. So keep going, keep learning, and keep growing. And if you guys got any questions, you feel free to ask me. If you got any questions about teaching English in Korea or Saudi Arabia, I'll put your link below to his Facebook page on this video, and you can check out what he's doing and keep up with everything that he will be doing in the future. So Marcus, dude, I want to say thank you so much, man. It was really great to finally do this. And I see that I already feel like this won't be the last time. We're definitely going to do some more shit together.
Yeah. We live in the same apartment building. Nah.
Yeah, but still, man, I really.
But even if not, it was hella cool to run into this dude. That's another story for another time. But I love the cut of your jig. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Everybody, have a great day. Thank you so much. Adios.